Hey guys! So today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about mental health awareness, and today I'm going to talk to you about having friends who are suffering with mental illness and how you can, be better with your interactions with them and better in supporting them. So my first video was about what it's like having family members and my situation with, some of my siblings and cousins, and then my next one, you'll have to stay tuned to find out what that's about. But I'm going to jump right in to let you know about this situation that I had with my first friend. And basically, we kind of met during a time where we were both kind of like ambitious getting into our careers. We had so much in common, and it was like we both wanted to, kind of be in like creative things like music and entertainment. And we were like, we loved to go to networking events. She was Christian like me. We just had like everything in common to just set us up to just be successful and, help one another. So we like became friends fast. And altogether we were friends for about 3 years. So by like after a year, going into like a year and a half, even 2 years, I started to notice that, all the things we were talking about doing that we wanted to do, I was kind of moving forward in that direction, and that she was staying stagnant. So I was like, okay, like that was kind of the first thing that caused me to question like what was going on with her. But as we move forward, again, like I said, like I was like, doing stuff, and she was stuck in the same place. And I started to notice even more so, not only was she not like living up to her potential, but she was also becoming increasingly more and more aloof, like more keeping to herself, not wanting to go out and, like I said, network, or not showing up to things like that, she would say she would come to. And then say I'd call her, she might like be like, oh yeah, I saw the phone was ringing, I just didn't answer, which is, I was like, okay, like she just was not being herself. So all of that really caused me to be like, what's like going on with her. And ultimately, like, then it kind of got to the point where she wanted me to kind of like carry more of the weight of the friendship. So she'd expect me to come to her for everything. She'd be like, come to my house, come to my job for lunch. Like, and I was like, at this point, we'd been friends for, like I said, almost 3 years. She had never been to my house. She had never hung out with my family. I would always go hang out with her family. And I just felt like I started to feel too much like stress and pressure from carrying the weight of the friendship, and like not feeling like it was being reciprocated. So I ended up like after a while kind of like having a little talk with her, almost like a, not like we need to take a break, but like kind of like that, where I was like, I think maybe you need to kind of like look at, your life and what's going on that's causing you to like act this way, because it's not really making me feel good as your friend. So, let's kind of like give ourselves like some time to like, for you to look at that. And after that, there was never any like reciprocation. There was never any change or even any contact after that. Like, it was just like, she was content with it. So eventually, I didn't realize it at the time. Obviously, I didn't put two and two together at all. But eventually, another friend of mine, this was like almost 2 years later, another friend of mine said, hey, I saw so and so. Like, have you spoken to her? And I was like, no, I don't. I don't know what's going on with her. And he said, oh, I think she's going through a mental health kind of situation because she was doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, whoa, it like all clicked at that moment, which is like so weird to me, because at that time that I was knowing her was also overlapping with the time where I was going through my situation with my brother, which was very consuming, which was very, I lived with my brother, so it was like nonstop. And he had a different type of mental illness where his symptoms and signs were very like visceral and very obvious and hard to avoid, if that makes sense. Versus, she probably has a different condition, but she was more so like melancholy, I guess depressed. Is probably what she had, like a clinical depression. I didn't realize at the time because I was so consumed with my situation, but I wish there are some things I would have done differently. So before I jump into that, I'm going to tell you about another situation that is actually going on pretty much like right now in my life. From the time that I decided I wanted to make this video, which like was like right around 2 weeks ago, maybe like just at the beginning of Mental Health Awareness Month, to now it's like almost mid-May. In that time, I had another situation transpire with another friend who, I've known her for like a while, kind of like as an associate, but we've been really good friends, like say for the last like 6 months or so, and fast friends. So, we're very, very connected. But I noticed like very recently that, certain signs that and symptoms, like I said, that I recognized from my other family members who have bipolar disorder. And her way of, the issue that I have with her is more so that she lashes out. So as you know, people, or as you may or may not know, people with bipolar disorder, they experience kind of like a mania where they feel like they're up and they're, it's, I don't know how to describe it that well, but they're more likely to be like energized in some kind of way, like whether it's angry or like just they can't sleep, they become manic, like whatever, look up what manic means. And then they also kind of have more down times, which is like why it's called bipolar, because there's two different polarities of the illness. I understand that it's an illness, but at the same time there's only so much that I can take as far as like the way that somebody is talking to me, right? So, you know, we've had some situations where we butted heads recently, and like I kind of, you know, kind of like dish back to her like, no, you're not about to talk to me like that. And from that situation, you know, because that didn't work out very well, you know, I've also learned some things. So I'm going to get into now the 3 things that I would recommend for you if you have a friend who's suffering with any kind of mental illness. And the first thing I would have done differently is that with that first friend, I would have pushed harder for her to get actual psychological help. And I did kind of mention to her, like, not knowing she had a mental illness, like, just like, oh, it would be good for you to like have you ever thought about talking to a psychologist, like, and kind of just let it go, because, you know, I didn't know for sure she had this issue, but I should have pushed harder, because once you see a person is like acting differently than how you know them to be, or you see that they're not living up to, like I said, their full potential, their best self, then you have to ask yourself, well, why is that going on? And observe them and really encourage them, like, let's let, you know, they might not be able to do it, so you could say, hey, have you thought about like doing this, like, let me help you, like, why don't we like look up some places now, or, you know, like, you want me to make a few phone calls for you, or you want me to go with you, like, you know, you might be in a certain situation, you might be that friend's only advocate, you know what I mean? Like, they might not live with their family, they might not talk to their family that much or feel comfortable sharing those things. They might have come from a family where their family members cannot even help them, or their family members are dealing with mental illness themselves. So you have to, if you see it, like, if you see something, say something, basically. Like, so don't let up, like, just because you say it once and they're like, no, or they don't follow through. Like, you might have to push them, or like I said, you might have to do a little research or help them because they're not able to do it, you know? So that's number 1. Don't underestimate the power of your voice of as far as like pushing to get them the help that they need. Number 2 is, you know, at that time I was a little bit more of a judgmental person, I'll say. You know, I was younger and not as compassionate. But I would say that what I would have also done is to create more of a safe space for them to really feel like they could talk. So not being so quick to be like, you didn't show up, you didn't call, you didn't answer. Oh, how come he didn't? Da, da, da. Like, all of that like nonsense talk, like contain it within yourself and just kind of observe the situation and like ask questions, like, and like I said, and create a safe space for them to talk. So more like, okay, well, why, so what happened, like, why couldn't you make it, like, oh, or okay, like, how's your day going, like, how are you feeling today, like, I haven't heard from you in a couple of days, like, and really listen to, like, allow them a space where they can talk and feel like they can, because that's also going to help you to learn and glean what's their true situation and what's going on with them. So always look at it from that perspective. You're not here to judge them. You're not here to assess everything that they did or didn't do. But you want them to feel comfortable talking to you. So think of it like that. Like, when you're with them, your job is to create a safe space for your friend. So, you know, they can talk, you can talk, you guys can have an open exchange, and not be so quick to, like I said, assess what they did or judge them as far as, you know, why they're acting a certain kind of way. And then the last thing kind of pertains more to, like I said, the second friend that I have, where you know, let's say that the friend is like talking to you, kind of like bugging once in a while, like, you know, getting a little bit, just not talking to you the way you want them to talk to you. Like, you have to be the one who has more patience and more compassion. So don't like feel like I'm about to clap back, I'm about to tell her about herself, like, like, you already kind of like, if you don't already recognize that, well, you should kind of recognize, like, why is this happening? But if you don't, like, either way, just like be the person who's going to turn the other cheek and maybe like not really engage in kind of like going back and forth with them or telling them about themselves. Just kind of be like, okay, I see that you're, you know, like, that's how you want to do things right now, so I'm just going to give you a break and we can talk about this later. Or, you know, however, whatever words you use, but be non-confrontational and don't feed into it. More so like understand, because you still want this friend to be able to come talk to you and to be a support system for that person. But if you lash out back and you like, which is the mistake kind of that I made, is like 2 times we've had a little disagreement and I kind of like, just my patience was just like over it, like, and you know, now I'm like, okay, like I wish I didn't do that. I wish I would have just been like, okay, all right, I don't really think this is like productive right now, so let's just like revisit this later. And then eventually they do calm down. You know, it's temporary, those, like I said, it's like stages of it could be 2 or 3 days that they feel like that, and then they like calm down, or they might come back and say, sorry, you know, I didn't mean to talk to you that way, which happens a lot too. So those are the 3 things, like I said, I would say for you to keep in mind. You know, number 1 is like pushing to being their advocate, pushing them toward kind of like getting the help that they need. Number 2, just always creating a safe space for them to talk. And number 3, not kind of like lashing back at them, but rather to just like be compassionate, be patient, and you know, remember that you're the one who's not suffering with the illness. As much as you want to be angry, you know, they're the ones who are really suffering and living with this day in and day out. So you have to be the one who has a compassionate heart, a patient heart, and like I said, turn the other cheek and just try your best to be loving and be supporting. So I hope that, you know, that encouraged you. If you have a friend who's going through this, or you think, you know, your friend is, you know, you see something in them that is maybe different, to just open your mind to the possibilities that, you know, it's probably not that they're just trying to not be a good friend or be a hater or be whatever. Like they might be going through something. So, and it could happen to anyone really. So I hope that helped you. Like, it definitely makes me feel like so good to like share this experience with you guys, and to like kind of like release these things. So the next and last installment of my kind of like experiences with mental health awareness, or with mental health, is going to be about what it's like to date a person not knowing that they have a mental illness, and kind of like getting into the throes of what happened to me as a result of being in that situation, in that relationship, and, you know, what you should kind of look out for if you're in a relationship, and how to handle that in a good way, you know, that's going to be good for you at the very least, if not good for both of you, you know. And that's really important, is to well, I'll tell you more about it. So stay tuned. I can't wait to see you guys again in my next video. And if you enjoyed this one, or you thought it was helpful, please share it with a friend who might benefit from it. And you can also subscribe, comment, or like. Thank you.